Are you struggling to get over somebody who currently is not even giving you the time of day? What a painful experience that is for people. And what a terrible thing to keep pining after somebody who's literally not even meeting your needs at all. Well, there are major reasons as to why this actually happens, and really big things that this cycle is actually telling you about yourself. In today's video, I am going to break down for you how to get over your avoidant ex in 3 easy steps so that this is done fast, so you don't have to think about this again, and so that finally you get the closure and certainty you need in your life and can finally experience relief. So here's the introduction to grief first, okay? Our subconscious mind, which if you're not already familiar, is actually responsible for 95 to 97% of all of our beliefs, our thoughts, our emotions, and actions. That's according to Harvard Business Review. What happens is your subconscious mind is responsible for so much. The part of you that's your conscious mind, the thing that you think of as like your logical, rational thinking self, kind of the part of you identify as your personality in a sense. This part of you is only responsible for 3 to 5% of your beliefs and thoughts and emotions and actions. And so what happens is your subconscious is kind of your habituated self, the natural patterns that you'll fall into without thinking about it. So when we attach to somebody, okay, when we build like a deep bond with somebody, our subconscious mind does 2 things that you really want to understand. Number 1, it actually starts to identify ourselves with that person. You see this in a lot of facets across society, right? Somebody may buy a new car and they start to kind of identify, like, this is my car. Their ego mind like identifies with the car or their house. But we do this a lot, even more so arguably in relationships, or you see it with people in their job. I do this for a living, right? So we tend to take something as ours. And when we do that, we start to essentially see that this is part of ourselves. And the reason this has a huge impact with breakups is that we do this with traits, okay? Biologically, there's something known as trait variety, where if you years and years and years ago were out in the wild trying to survive and somebody was really smart and they paired up with somebody really strong, when you pair up with them, you have a better chance at surviving together. So what essentially happens is when we attach to somebody, we start to take their traits as a part of ourselves. So if somebody was very protective of you, for example, and protectiveness was one of their traits, then you'll start to feel like, oh, that base is covered, right? That makes me feel safer in the world. If somebody made you, maybe they were very present, you start to feel like, okay, this person, they end up making me feel very seen because they're so present. And I see this all the time with people. If somebody's really attractive, then people will attach to that and think, okay, I must be kind of attractive because this person's really attractive that I'm dating. And so it actually kind of causes us to have this like positive improvement to our self-esteem. Or the second point is to our needs being met. So we also, once we attach to somebody, we get used to somebody meeting our needs over and over again. And so the subconscious mind relies on that person meeting your needs. So when grief happens, okay, why grief hurts so badly? Because we're not just missing somebody's like physical body when we grieve them, right? If their physical body just appeared, but they weren't alive, but we wouldn't be like, oh my gosh, all my grief is gone. No, you're actually grieving all the invisible things. You're grieving the traits and the needs that they brought into your life. So the subconscious mind attaches to these things, comes to take these things as a part of oneself. And then when that person suddenly goes missing from your life and they pull away or they're not there or they leave, we actually have this huge void left behind where our subconscious started to identify itself with this person, with their traits and qualities. And it also got all of its needs met, or at least a lot of its needs met through this person. So maybe the person made you feel validated or encouraged, or maybe they just made you feel special or important because you had them on a pedestal and you thought that, oh, if they're letting me into their life, then I must be special or important. Now, of course, we know, this is talking about avoidance. So I know you listening are probably like, wait, but avoidants aren't present and they don't necessarily make me feel special and important. But if you put somebody on a pedestal and you think of them as being like hard to get or kind of like aloof or mysterious, as soon as you put somebody on a pedestal, their attention makes you feel special and important, right? So you can see these different dynamics. And then we attach to getting these needs met through this person or having these traits. They pull away out of our lives. It feels like there's this void left behind. And exactly that void is what you experience as grief. Okay. Now remember I said there was 4 things that we experience as grief. And I'm going to give you 1 or 2 things you can actually start working on today. There's 2 other things that cause us to grieve. We tell painful stories after a breakup. If you're listening to this, chances are you've probably done the thing where you go, oh, if only I did this one thing differently, maybe they would have stayed. Or if only I was more attractive or more interesting or more funny or more fill in the blanks, then they would have stayed. And so there's a lot of like storytelling, right? Because you don't know that. That's just an idea. That's just the concept you're projecting onto a situation. You actually don't know that if you did one thing. And honestly, sometimes when you take a just honest look at it and go, wait, if I did do this one thing differently, does that actually guarantee that this person would have stuck around? And a lot of what happens is we overtake responsibility after a breakup, especially if you're more anxious and or you end up in a situation where you're like, oh, if I just did this one thing, or I'm not good enough, or I'm alone now, I'm going to be alone forever. Everybody will always abandon me. As soon as you start storytelling, you are just creating your own grief, right? Now, it's not conscious. It's not your fault. It's not like you're sitting down and choosing this. These subconscious autopilot thoughts do this, right? Because we have pre existing programs where we're like, I'm going to be abandoned. We have these fears and we hold on to these fears. And then when we get triggered, these programs get projected out onto our outside world. It's part of how the subconscious mind works. So now you can start to see, oh my goodness, this is why I'm grieving things. And the fourth thing that we grieve is we grieve the fantasy of a person. We grieve the what was going to happen, what could have been, the projections into the future about what was going to happen next. And often, a lot of times when people are grieving, especially avoidance, they're grieving the story of a person and the fantasy of the person more than the person themselves, quite honestly. So that begs the question. If these are four of the major parts of grief, right? We look at the traits that are taken away, the needs that are no longer a part of our lives. We tell these stories about how we're going to be alone forever or we're unlovable, and that's really painful. And then we look at all of the costs to the future that, all the things that were taken away instead of like, hey, how is there actually a silver lining here? Why is that relationship maybe not serving me? Well, then you end up in a situation where you are in this prolonged grief period. And it makes it really hard, honestly, to be available for future relationships, to be able to move on. So, what do you actually do? We're going to talk about what you can actually do about this. And I'm going to give you two tangible things you can start right here, right now, today. I want to come in here and share a free gift that we are giving away. It is our Skyrocket Your Self-Esteem course that you get to keep for free for life if you sign up for a 7-day free trial to the Personal Development School. Within that 7 days, you'll be able to access every single course that we have at PDS. You'll be able to join live webinars, ask me personally your questions in there, and you'll be able to use that 7-day free trial to explore all of the other peer support groups, build community, and you will keep the Skyrocket Your Self-Esteem course literally for free for life. If you cancel before the 7th day, you'll never be charged anything. And you'll still get to keep the gift Skyrocket Your Self-Esteem for free. So I hope you enjoy it. It's a really powerful course for helping you build more confidence, rewire limiting beliefs that are blocking you, and help you build and understand the relationship to yourself so you can honor your needs, your truth, and your boundaries. These two major things, okay? Number one is I want you right now to make a list of all of the needs that you think this person met, okay? And I'll give you some examples of ones that often come up for people. And it doesn't just have to be the ones they actually met, it can include the ones you fantasize about them meeting. Because a lot of times you're like in the fantasy, and that's actually what's meeting your needs more than necessarily the reality of how the person showed up. So let's start. Maybe the person made you feel protected. Maybe they made you feel like there was a sense of novelty or excitement. Maybe they made you feel like there was a sense of challenge, which actually could mean a need for growth. Maybe this person made you feel validated, even if it was intermittently. Maybe this person made you feel encouraged or special. Maybe this person made you feel like you were loved or lovable. Maybe they made you feel like you were wanted, right? Like, oh, they were attracted to you. They made you feel wanted. So these are some common things. Again, oftentimes we're more in the fantasy of somebody than the reality. And if you're actually honestly looking, and we're going to come to this in point number two. So first thing is you look at all these needs. And then I want you to ask yourself, when you've written out a bunch of these needs, I want you to ask yourself, from 1 to 10, without this person in my life, how much do I feel like I have these needs met on a daily or regular basis? Chances are you're going to find that, like, wow, I really don't have these needs met on a regular basis much at all. And that is why I'm willing to put up with breadcrumbs from somebody else, because I'm starving for this connection and moving in that direction. Now, I want to be mindful here that this is not me saying like all avoidants are negative or bad. I was a fearful avoidant. We have tons of people when I was working in client practice that were dismissive avoidant, fearful avoidant, that would do the work and show up incredibly well. And I really believe in that for all attachment styles. I really, because I've been in this field for a long time and I've been in the trenches with people firsthand for so long, I honestly don't actually find that there's an attachment style implication to healing so much. There's different nuances of like how different attachment styles will heal, but it's more about, is somebody doing the work or not? That's really the main question. Like, it doesn't matter what somebody's attachment style is. Everybody can heal their attachment style. Everybody can show up as a loving, supportive partner. Is the person that you are dating, or is the person that maybe you are listening to this, are you willing to show up and do the work, to ask the questions, to get some answers, to dig deep, to work through your core wounds, to shift your patterns of communication and boundaries? Like, that's the only factor that really plays a role. But part of why I'm making this video is like a lot of people really get stuck on avoidance and they haven't asked the question, is this person doing the work? Is there growth? Or is this person showing up with me? Which is arguably one of the most important questions you can ask when you're dating any insecure attachment style. But I will go back to staying on track here. So this point is for you to look at how much do you have those needs met from 1 to 10 that you are attaching to in that other person. And if you're finding that you're showing up really low, that's why you're putting up with breadcrumbs, right? It makes perfect sense. So then I want you to ask yourself, what is one thing I can do a day for the 2 needs I'm hungering for the most right now from this person? What is one thing I can commit to doing each day to start getting these needs met in my life, whether it's through myself or through somebody else? So for example, if the need is this person made me feel validated and encouraged, okay, well, I can actually, at the end of every day, I'll make a daily habit that for 3 minutes, I will acknowledge 3 wins that I had today. It may take you 30 friggin' seconds, but you're going to do that. Small thing, tangible, but as you do that through repetition, it actually starts to fire and wire new neural pathways. You start to get in the habit because it becomes subconscious once it's ingrained. And all of a sudden, you're actually meeting that need more naturally. One thing you can do per day to meet that need, if it's the person was, they made you feel special. Sometimes we can make ourselves feel more special by actually attuning to our own feelings and needs and actually allowing ourselves to take up space. A lot of people who chase feeling special in relationships with others, they do that because they make themselves feel the opposite of special all day long because they constantly put themselves and their needs on the back burner. So again, like a tangible thing that you can do in here. I want you to make a list. I talk about this quite often, but this is a really important tool for getting over an avoidant. Make a list of all the things you want in a partner, your standards. Maybe you want somebody who's consistent, caring, shows up, who's loving, who makes you a priority. Like make a list of 10 things, arguably 5 to 10 things, but the more the better, of things that you feel like you really want. If you could wave a magic wand and have it, your partner would have these things. And then I want you in the next column next to those things to write down from 1 to 10 how much this avoidant person was actually showing up to meet these things and to be there in this way on a regular basis. And what this does, it gives us a reality check because sometimes we really are chasing and mourning the fantasy of somebody more than the reality of how they showed up or who they were. And that can really help anchor you back into that reality mindset. And that's a really powerful shift or very quickly for being able to start moving on. So those are 2 things you can start with right here, right now, today. And I hope that makes a lot of sense. Thank you for stopping by. I hope you subscribe to this channel if you enjoy the content for today. And I really appreciate you being here.